This young girl possesses a strange ability. She can drain the blood from others' bodies, much like a vampire. She simply bit the old man lightly on the neck, and in an instant, his entire body was drained of blood, causing his death. As Nina untied the ropes and prepared to escape with the name tag in hand, footsteps were heard approaching from outside the house. She quickly disposed of the body and pretended to still be bound. Nina recognized the approaching enemy. It was Mike, one of the IGA elite ninjas. It turned out he had come to see the results of Bobby's interrogation, but upon entering the warehouse, he found no sign of Bobby. When Mike turned around and saw Nina in a disheveled state, he assumed she had been assaulted during the interrogation. He started walking toward her, while Nina waited for the perfect moment to strike. She knew he had already fallen into her trap. Meanwhile, in the meeting room of the Koga, the others had realized Nina was missing. They speculated that IGA had already violated the peace treaty. As a result, they sent 2 people to investigate the truth behind the situation. They hid along the route the general would take, and they waited for Yashimaru. George, using his abilities, disguised himself as John. John, without suspicion, revealed that the peace treaty had been annulled. This surprised George, who inadvertently revealed a flaw in his disguise. Yashimaru realized he had been tricked and quickly activated his black silk technique to trap George, who was trying to escape. But then, 2 large hands suddenly emerged from the wall, grabbing George by the neck. A face slowly materialized on the wall. Yashimaru tried to fight back using his foot weapons, but Dean forcefully snapped his neck. Dean suggested that George report the situation to the young master, but George was deeply concerned about his sister Nina's safety. Then, using his powers, he buried his head in the mud and, upon lifting it, had fully transformed into Yashimaru. As George pondered how to infiltrate IGA, he was suddenly spotted and attacked. Just as he thought his cover had been blown, the woman threw her darts at him. It turned out that Lily was Yashimaru's fiancée. Upon seeing her fiancé alive, she burst into tears. Realizing that George had not been exposed, he decided to continue his disguise. Lily, fearing she would be misunderstood by Yashimaru, hurriedly told Bobby everything that had happened recently. They had secretly killed 3 Koga ninjas during the peace agreement and had captured Nina, locking her in the warehouse. Finally locating his sister, George persuaded Lily to lead him to Nina. Meanwhile, inside the warehouse, Nina successfully seduced Mike to come closer and then activated her ability. She untied her ropes and strangled Mike, knocking him to the ground. She covered his mouth to prevent him from calling for help. As Mike felt his blood being drained, he noticed the salt in the warehouse. He realized it was his only chance for survival. Using all his strength, he crawled towards the pile of salt. Nina, unaware of his intentions, continued her attack, but once Mike touched the salt, his body turned into a pile of mush. The sensation was so disgusting that Nina recoiled and pushed him away. Mike took the opportunity to hide in a gap between the wooden barrels. Nina, realizing she couldn't kill him, prepared to escape, but at that moment, the door was suddenly opened again. George finally arrived at the warehouse where Nina was being held. He found his sister lying on the floor, bloodied. Though he knew Bobby was the murderer, he couldn't do anything. He forced himself to remain calm, walked past Bobby, and sat down in front of Nina. He took her hand and silently communicated to her using sign language that he was there. With her last breath, Nina told her brother that she had killed one of the IGA ninjas alone and revealed the location of the hidden scroll. Tears streamed down her face as she died in her brother's arms.